You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Hello, and welcome into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. I'm doing my best to not yell right out of the gate as I do on a weekly basis. My name is Tyler Ron, Sam Dykstra, Benjamin Hill in New York City, as we welcome you to this week's edition of the official podcast of Minor League Baseball. Gents, what's going on?
I have a feeling this streak of quieter openings is not going to last very long.
Well, can't be a streak if it's only one, and I'll forget by next week.
I think there was a basketball announcer, I won't name names, but you might be able to guess who it is based on me saying this, was talking about a team going on a 4-0 run. That just means you scored 2 baskets.
Wait a minute, was that me? Was I that basketball?
It's not you. It was not you.
I've probably done that. No, I can't. Although, as we record this thing today, the unlikeliest of sports things has happened, which is that the Colorado Rockies are on a winning streak. They've won 3 straight games. So any streak is possible, I guess, as we kick off this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. This is one. Next week, I feel like is a very unique episode. I'm not sure if we can count that one as part of the streak, because I will undoubtedly be yelling to start that one. Maybe the one after that, maybe we count as a second straight week, if I can make it through by not yelling to kick off the show. Maybe.
Well, that was part of the reason why I thought you wouldn't make this a streak, was because of what's happening.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. But I'm excited for it. Ben, what's going? That was Sam Dykstra talking, by the way. Benjamin Hill is next to Sam, and what's up? How are you?
Yeah, you're doing quiet intros. I decided, so I'm making some noise here just by speaking to this microphone, and blemishing the whole premise that I was basing this episode upon, which was not speaking.
Well, in this audio-only format, we are happy to have you speaking as we get set to we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about, and we thank you, wherever you have found us, for tuning into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. We are on the precipice. We are exactly 1 week away from the first ever The Show Before the Show night at the home of the Somerset Patriots in Bridgewater, New Jersey, where for some reason, we have successfully duped a very successful and very professionally run minor league baseball team into honoring the 3 of us dorks and having us out of the ballpark to showcase the Show Before the Show podcast that you know and love. We actually just, an hour ago, got done with the call with the Somerset staff to talk about the specifics for next week. I'm really very excited about this. And Ben, I'm going to let you give folks an overview, because this kind of changed. We originally were going to have the Show Before the Show night for the 7 p.m. game on Wednesday, June 11th. And then the baseball weather gods had different ideas. So last month, there was a game between Somerset and Portland that got rained out that they will be making up on Wednesday the 11th. So it is now a doubleheader starting at 4, but the majority of our stuff will be between the games. I'm stoked, man. I think this is going to be a blast.
Yeah, it's something we've been talking about a long time, at least in theory, for years, and we've been mentioning it in recent weeks, of course, on this very podcast, but a theme night devoted to our podcast. And Tyler, you said, the Patriots were duped. And why us? We're just a bunch of schmucks. But it's been heartening and humbling to have them, really put a lot of effort into this. We were just on a call, brainstorming things to do during the night, talking about between inning contests. I think we should have a sweater race for Somerset Patriots front office staffers who are involved with this promo, and the sweaters are pulled up over their faces so they can't see. And it would be the we pulled the wool over their eyes race.
It's pretty good, actually. Because they have done, I cannot say enough about the Somerset They have worked so hard on this promo, And I remember, and we've said this a few times talking about it, we kind of figured, especially like, the first time that we logged onto a call, like it'll be Dave Merrick and, a couple of people from the front. We logged on the whole call, like the entire front office was on the call. It felt like they have thought of absolutely everything. You can get your tickets, of course, at milb.com/Somerset. This is just going to be so much fun. We're doing a bunch of different activities. The thing that I am arguably most excited about, though, there is a chance that Ben and I are going to get to hit in the batting cages and have Sam do like a write up on what our swings are like and put on his actual scouting cap. How, like, on a scale of, I guess it would be on a scale of like 9 to 10, how ruthless are you going to be? How much are you going to shatter my confidence in any athleticism I once had?
Tyler, you know what scale we use in scouting. It's not 9 to 10.
That's true.
20
On
to
the
80.
70 to 80 part of the scouting scale, how ruthless, what is the Sam Dykstra destruction tool going to be like when you just tear into our swings and such?
I'll put it this way. I will be 80 ruthless and giving you a 20 hit.
Very nice, Sam. It's going to be one of those things where it's like, if it was possible to grade lower than 20 on this scale, Mon would certainly achieve that bar. Well, I'm excited, man. This is going to be a blast. We talked about the details on our call, but Ben, lay out for people what some of this evening will look like and obviously we're going to make a bunch of game time decisions. We're going to be talking with people at the ballpark. We're going to put obviously an entire episode together based on that night at the ballpark. But give everybody an overview of what this Wednesday night is going to look like in Somerset.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, it's stay tuned and we'll see how it all comes together. But yeah, with the doubleheader, we'll do a live segment of the show between games of the doubleheader, and interview people from all walks of life all over the stadium to include in the episode. Be involved in between inning contests. I'm gonna, I think, do designated eaters a little differently and reach out to everyone who said they wanted to do it and get them all in a group and do that in a rapid fire way at some point. Not as a between anything, but as something that'll work for social. Patriots are gonna hook us up with our custom team gear. We'll walk around as advertising for the Patriots because hey, it's the least we could do for them hosting this night. And June 11th, TD Bank Ballpark, Somerset Patriots, be there. If you're listening to this podcast right now, we want to see you on Wednesday, June 11th. Bridgewater, New Jersey. Take the Raritan Valley line of New Jersey Transit's Raritan Valley line right to the Bridgewater stop, and that train station is like right behind the ballpark. You can come right to the ballpark or drive or start walking now or whatever it takes.
Yeah, wherever you are. If you're far enough away and you need to start walking now, I mean, we're recording this on Wednesday. You might not hear it on Wednesday or Thursday, but get on the trot now. I guess a trot would be more of a jog than a walk. Anyway,
Either way, we'll see you there.
We will be posting the show before the show night ticket link to MILB's social media, so you can check on Twitter and elsewhere for our specific ticketing link, because we will be selling $15 tickets. $5 of every one of those tickets will go to benefit the Food Bank Network of Somerset County. It's also $1 hot dog night, so you can make yourself sick by eating too many hot dogs, which is something I plan on doing. But I'm excited for it. We're going to do between inning contests. There has been talk of doing the Dizzy Bat race, which I don't think, despite having worked in minor league front offices, I don't know if I've ever actually done a Dizzy Bat race personally. So I'm really looking forward to falling over and being one of those people that everybody gets to laugh at during the Dizzy Bat race. But we're going to have a whole bunch of other stuff in the offing for this Wednesday night.
We sure will.
All right. Well, fellas, Sam is going to be there on Wednesday to give us the grades and such. Ben will be there with designated eaters. We will also we're going to get to test out a bunch of Somerset Patriots food items, including the diner burger and a whole bunch of stuff there, which is going to be super cool. But is there any element of this that is especially exciting to you guys?
I think for me, like, I've never thrown out a first pitch.
Yeah, me neither.
Except for when I was a pitcher, I guess.
Right.
But
You've never thrown out a ceremonial first pitch.
Yeah, never a ceremonial first
Yeah.
pitch. I was in Tennessee back when they were still in Kodak, and they just looked at me at one point and they were like, "Would you do it?" And I was like, I guess maybe." And I can't remember if that game got rained out or if they actually had somebody else to do it. But like the idea sparked in my brain, and I was like, "Oh man, I would love to do it. I have full confidence in myself that I would get the ball, but I don't want to talk myself up and have everybody
Yeah.
show up." So if anybody's like listening and thinking about like, "Oh, I think I can go, but I don't know if I can go to game one." That's kind of early. It is a weeknight. It
Yeah.
is all that kind of stuff. Game two is when we're throwing out the first pitch.
Right.
And like you said, Tyler, we're doing between the games a live segment from the field. We'll be sitting in like director's chairs and chumming it up like we always do for about 15, 20 minutes between games. So if you can only go to game two, that is totally fine.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that'll be just so everybody's aware. I think that like I'm still thinking right now about what happens if when I have to throw out a first pitch.
Here's my
alongside you.
worry about the first pitch. We're all three going to be doing it simultaneously next to each other. Like the sight line of like, what if you're the person who's on, the first or third base dugout side? Is that going to throw you off? If it does, if I uncork and like, throw a ball into the dirt or throw it over somebody's head to the backstop, I'm going to blame that. I'm gonna be like, well, I wasn't on the mound. I had somebody off to one side of me. That's what I'm blaming.
We're already starting with
Yeah, I'm
excuses.
thinking
This
of
is a
my excuses early.
poor showing already.
Yeah, I'll just share a piece of advice I've learned in my first pitch throwing career that applies to everything. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
That is true. In a,
No
in a
one
wide
really.
context.
Yeah. And sometimes I think I should just throw intentionally a horrible first pitch so I can go viral with it.
Yeah, that's
You know,
true.
because when you just throw something mediocre, whether it's mediocre good, mediocre bad, doesn't matter. People
Maybe that
forget
was
immediately.
maybe that was 50 Cent's plan the whole time. He knew like
Exactly.
music careers are finite, but going viral with an atrocious first pitch lives forever. So coming up on Wednesday, June 11th, at the home of the Somerset Patriots in Bridgewater, New Jersey, we will be there, and we hope to see you there as well. All right. Well, speaking of trips to see minor league ballparks, Benjamin Hill back in the offices from his trip through North and South Carolina. What were some of the highlights, man? How was the trip?
Yeah, hit some rough weather along the way, but it was a good trip. Mostly South Carolina, one stop in North Carolina. It started with the Greenville Drive on June 27th. Fluor Field. I never quite know how to say the name of this ballpark. It's a corporate
Neither do
name.
I.
FLUOR.
FLUOR.
Yeah, I should have learned since I was
Yeah.
there. Fluor Field. But absolutely beautiful ballpark. Red Sox affiliate, architectural elements reminiscent of Fenway, including a green monster in left field. They've done some work since the last time I was there, which was way back in 2016. There's like green monster seating area, and then there's also on top of that, on the very top of the green monster, like a rooftop deck, which is a really cool view. The area around Greenville, there was actually a segment on CBS News recently, highlighting this, but the area around this ballpark been rejuvenated over the course of quite a few years now, with the ballpark as the centerpiece. I visited an apartment complex with views of the ballpark called 408 Jackson, and that's because Shoeless Joe Jackson was from Greenville, lived in Greenville, he died in Greenville. He was there for decades, owned a liquor store. So I visited 408 Jackson, and the whole place has a baseball aesthetic. This apartment complex, that's in what they call, I believe it's the 367 district. It's 408 Jackson because that was his highest single season batting average, and then it's called the 367 district because that was his career average. And then the Shoeless Joe Museum, which seems to be in a bit of, I don't know if I'd call it turmoil, but they don't seem to be as open as much as they used to. Unfortunately, there was no one really to get in touch with when I was there to actually get in the museum, but there is a museum inside a house that Joe Jackson lived in. I believe was like relocated slightly to its current position, but just a pleasant little house filled with Shoeless Joe memorabilia. That's actually right next door to 408 Jackson. Yeah, cool to walk around Greenville, cool to see the ballpark and being the epicenter of a very cool, walkable downtown. But there was no game. I felt like they could have played a game. If they had to play a game, they probably would have, but it was the first of a 6-game series, and some rain came through. it got banged. So not a great start on that way, but I was at the ballpark for hours. Still good to be there. Still got in some time with my designated eater, a pimento smash burger, smash cheese. What I forget what it's called, but it was a pimento cheese like smash burger. That's what it was. Was one of the highlights. Then went to Columbia, home of the Fireflies. First time I'd been back there since I saw the eclipse in 2017. Segra Stadium, and used to be Spirit Communications Park. That is just corporate naming again. Good to be back there. Pretty low key Wednesday night. And that is where the interview will feature on this episode came from. I talked to Brad Shank, the team's general manager, president, head honcho. He's way up at the top of the org chart. I've known him for years, but we'll talk about that in a bit. And really good food there. My designated eater was Donnie Wise, the mayor, who you might have seen him around core minor league baseball fans on Twitter. And good to hang out with him earlier in the day. We went to the old ballpark in Columbia before we went to the new one, which is really like falling apart. Is it Municipal Stadium? I think all ballparks used to be called Municipal Stadium. I can't remember what it was called, but it is falling apart. But it was cool to see that. Went to Maurice's Barbecue, an iconic barbecue spot, and got a portion so large that I had to take it back to the hotel room for dinner. So it was two meals in one at Maurice's Barbecue. Then the final season with the Carolina Mudcats. I hit that up on a Thursday, kind of rainy night, but they got the game in. Talked to fans, front office about it being the final season in Columbia, home of the Mudcats, or Carolina Mudcats, Zebulon, North Carolina. It all blurs together. But that ballpark was fun to be at. One of those early 90s hulking concrete ballparks. They just don't make them like that anymore. And of course, the Mudcats are going to be moving to Wilson next year, becoming the Warbirds. And I visited the construction site of that ballpark the following day. So it was cool to see that. A really cool thing about the new ballpark they're building in Wilson, it only has 2,900 fixed seats. That really stood out to me. Just like it'll be a small, intimate ballpark. But also, there's a hotel being built as part of the ballpark structure down the third baseline. So there'll be a hotel entrance and a ballpark entrance, like basically right next to each other on the third base side. And so it's only going to be, I think, a 3-floor hotel, small hotel, but still, it's right there, part of the ballpark. You'll be on the concourse. There's the team store. The hotel is literally right above you. And hope to be able to stay in that hotel when I hopefully visit the ballpark next year, get a room with a view, and really cool, because there's obviously a lot of hotels that are near ballparks, or New Hampshire Fisher Cats have that hotel in left field that is right there, but it's like a separate property, a separate entity. This one is same construction process. It's building this ballpark, it's building this hotel. They are one. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then Whirligig Park. It is going to loom over left field at this ballpark, and it was a man named Vollis Simpson, Vollis. He was a World War II veteran who was known as a tinkerer. He could make something out of anything. And so when he got out of the service, came back home to North Carolina near Wilson, he built all these sculptures that were junk sculptures that came to be called whirligigs, and now they're all in one place in Whirligig Park. And so when you go to a Wilson Warbirds game, the whirligigs will be whirling around out beyond left field. So that's another cool aspect of it. Then went to Myrtle Beach for, you guessed it, another rainout. My second of the 5 ballparks I visited. That was a bummer. But I was there for hours, still got to talk to some people. I had a really embarrassing moment in Myrtle Beach. I might as well talk about it. But, there's so many details on the road, right? And when I reach out to teams, I always throw it out there like, hey, are there interesting players, coaches to talk to, interesting stories? And 2 of the guys that were mentioned were Yoani Cuevas, the team's manager.
Okay.
Right? And he's a young guy who played in the Cubs organization up until a few years ago and then switched to coaching. And Angel Cespedes, who's a fairly high-ranked prospect in the Cubs organization. And, I'm just juggling so many details. I sit down and I start talking to Yoani, the team's manager, and I asked him all the questions that I was going to ask Angel.
Oh, no.
And a lot of them, there was enough over. They're both Dominican guys with some somewhat similar backgrounds. And a lot, I think he was just kind of like, this is close enough. But there were some that, I don't think really translated literally at all. And I was like, okay, thanks for talking to me. And they're like, okay, Ben, this is Angel. I was like, oh, wait, I just talked to Yohani? Oh, no.
Did you circle back with him?
No, he left. like not in a huff or anything. He just left, and I didn't want to be like, "Can you bring him?" I just felt like wear it, you
Yeah,
know.
right. Yeah.
It was embarrassing though, that I interviewed one person while thinking he was someone else the entire time. I've never done that
I mean, it's
before.
like you say, you talk to a lot of folks on the road. It's somewhat amazing you don't have more stories like that.
Yeah, maybe I do. I just forget them all. I mean, but yeah, on the road sometimes my mind is just barely. It's all over the place. Visited a Circle K the next morning and filmed some content at the Circle K. Proud sponsor of this podcast, among other things in the minor league baseball orbit, the Baseball Traveler newsletter that I write, and affiliated content. Got to stop at the Circle K and hang out with Splash, the Pelicans mascot, the next morning.
Splash. Did Splash ask about me?
Yeah, he did. Well,
Splash is like,
he had a series of flashcards or splash cards as they were, and he was like handing them to me, and they were all questions about how you're doing, Tyler.
what happened to that loud radio guy? Why does he yell to start every episode of your podcast? Sorry.
Exactly. But he misses you. And then it was on to Charleston. And fourth time in Charleston, but it'd been 8 years since I've been there. Charleston River Dogs, the Joseph P. Riley Jr. Ballpark. Good to be back there. I did a lot of interviews with some front office people about the team's promotional legacy and specifically their history of fan activation promotions, because I was at one of them. You know, they've done like the colored packets night where you're throwing colored powder at each other at the end of a game. They did a failed champagne celebration one night that didn't work as well. They did a silly string night that was a lot of fun. I'm sure very hard to clean up. But I was there for the most recent iteration night where at the end of the game, everyone just TPs the ballpark, throws toilet paper everywhere. So that was a great way to end the trip and then come home and then be back in the office and trying to make sense of everything. And we'll be in Somerset next week, Wednesday, June 11th, for a promotion based on this podcast. And later in the month, I'll be headed to the 3 new ballparks of the American South: Columbus, Georgia, home of the Clingstones; Spartanburg, South Carolina, home of the Spartan Burgers, the Hub City Spartan Burgers; and Knoxville, Tennessee, home of the Smokies. So keep on rolling. Let's go.
As Ben noted, this segment proudly presented to you by Circle K, the official convenience store of minor league baseball. And you also noted the Hub City Spartan Burgers. Those are the new era Clash of the Cap champion Hub City Spartan Burgers, who won the overall title in our voting. Big congrats to the Hub City Spartans. First season, season's not even halfway through, they're already claiming championships. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I kind of want the analytics on this, like how much
Yeah.
of this came from Spartanburg and the area and the excitement that everybody has for their new team and they want to support it, and how much of it is they're the new guys on the block and like
People were like, look at this burger on this hat. This is amazing.
yeah, like fans around the country just may really be gravitating towards this thing that, as much as we're talking about this stuff for months on end and weeks on end, when you vote for it, you're like, wait a second, that catches my eye. I really like the look of that thing. I don't know. We'll see. There are many things working in Hub City's favor, but I think it starts with the fact that they do have a very solidly designed hat.
Yeah, it is a great look, and a big congrats to the old Spartan Burger, the new Spartan Burger, the young Spartan Burgers. I don't know why I called them old. All right, well, Ben, you've got a conversation from the trip and from the home of the Columbia Fireflies that we are going to hear coming up next. Tee it up for us.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, this will be Brad Shank, the president, general manager of the Columbia Fireflies. I always lose track of the titles at the top of the org chart, but he's the boss, and I've known Brad for a long time. He's been in the industry for a long time. And conversation, because his son was at the ballpark, Cal, and Cal has autism, is autistic, and he was talking to me about how that, changed his perspective on certain aspects of the game day operation and led to a larger conversation about ballpark inclusiveness and balancing the needs of the few with the wants of the many, and how you do that operationally, and how his son Cal has informed his perspective in terms of how you accommodate to the best of your abilities. So wide-ranging conversation. I think it was a good conversation. I enjoyed talking to Brad, and I hope you hear this. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Brad Shank with the Columbia Fireflies.
Looking for a simple way to thank your clients or recognize employees for a job well done? A Starbucks card is more than a gift. It's a pick-me-up, a break in their day, and a reminder that you appreciate them. Whether you're shopping for digital or physical cards in bulk, Starbucks cards are the perfect gift to brighten anyone's day. Share the joy of coffee and connection when you give the gift of Starbucks. Shop Starbucks cards in bulk now at starbuckscardb2b.com.
Here with Brad Shank, president of the Columbia Fireflies. I've known you for 15 or so years.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how long.
Long time.
Going back to your days with the Fort Wayne Tin Caps. So you've been in the industry quite a long time. Where did it start for you, your career in minor league baseball?
So my first internship is with the now defunct Richmond Roosters. So independent baseball, and it was the wild, wild west. I mean, it was crazy there. Great place to learn. You know, we did everything from changing out kegs to selling tickets, and then you'd go into the non-air conditioned ticket office, which was actually just a shed. So I got started there and then moved to Fort Wayne in 2003. That's kind of when I started there. I was with the Wizards, and then, you know, had the opportunity to move into the new ballpark and rebrand to the Tin Caps there. So it was quite the journey, and then now have been in Columbia since the beginning here in 2016. So it's been a wild, long ride.
Yeah, so 2016, now it's 2025. I guess this would be the 10th season, except not really.
That's a weird thing. Like, nobody ever really has figured out exactly what to do with that COVID year. I think we're gonna celebrate 10th season next year, even though this is the 10th year, just because nobody wants to think about that year we didn't play baseball. So I think that's how we're viewing it anyway.
Yeah. And how long have you been the man at the top, the president of the Columbia Fireflies?
So 2022 was the first season in that role. Prior to that, I was the executive vice president and kind of overseeing ticket sales and doing the promos and emceeing and doing all that fun stuff. So definitely a little different role now. I still get teased by our staff because some days I maybe don't dress up as much as I used to with costumes on theme nights and things like that. And I'm like, well, I don't know if somebody who wants to talk to the team president about a situation that they didn't love wants to talk to Superman. I don't know if that would go over super well. So, you know,
it would go over super something.
It was super something, yeah. So it's fun. I mean, we've got a great team, and you know, it's really fun seeing now the development around here beginning to grow and turn into what it was kind of originally intended, and so we're enjoying that too.
Do you miss not being as involved in the more wacky side of things?
I do, yeah. I mean, I think that's where I really fell in love with minor league baseball was, you know, when I was an intern with the Roosters, you know, it was forced at first, but then I think we started liking it. But they'd make us dress up like the village people and go do the YMCA in front of the crowd. And 4th of July, I think on a dare, I got 2 really long sparklers and had a headband that looked like the Statue of Liberty and ran around the warning track while the fireworks are going off. So I'm definitely not someone who shies away from the funky and weird side of minor league baseball. I think that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, and first time I visited Fort Wayne, whenever that was, 2010, 2011, I got to be a Bad Apple dancer, and I believe you were one of the principal Bad Apple dancers, and you guys took that seriously.
Oh, yeah. No, there was rehearsals. I mean, it was the choreography. We had to be on point. It was, people expected big things and a booty shake to finish, so you had to deliver, and you did. I thought you did an excellent job.
I did my best. And now, as a president, people expect big things, not necessarily a booty shake.
Yeah.
So what, I know there's not necessarily a typical day, but now in this era of your career, what is a typical day in the sense of all the things you have to take into account, plan for, delegate? I mean, it seems like it's a far cry from an internship 20, obviously is.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's, I mean, I probably watch more weather now than I ever did in those previous years. You know, you kind of let the other people make that decision. And so, I mean, during the season, that's a lot of it. I wake up in the morning and the first thing I look at on a game day is pull up the radar and make sure, you know, we don't have any surprises there. Here in the Southeast, I mean, especially, you got so much pop-up storms and things that plays a big role. But really, it's more about just trying to provide all of our people with the tools that they need and support them in the best ways. People are our biggest asset, but they're also the biggest wild card. I mean, you have to put the time in, you have to invest in them, you have to give them what they need to be successful, and a lot of times that is just time. They need your time, they need advice, they need, hey, what should I do in this situation? And so a lot of times people are just popping in and, hey, this is going on, what can we do? And so problem solving, I mean, that's probably a lot of what I'm trying to do is, whether it's between people or between a situation that happens. We had just talked to a guy out in the stands that they had a group area and there was a little miscommunication, and so we talked through it, and I think people just, I try to help them in that way because, those aren't always the easiest conversations to have. I've been doing this long enough that I've had a lot of them, inevitably. And so, a lot of times I'm just trying to do anything I can to support our staff and make it easier for them.
Yeah. And, one thing you mentioned when we were talking earlier is, being involved in making this ballpark, Sager Park, a more inclusive environment, sensory friendly. Yeah. And you have a personal connection to that with your son Cal.
Absolutely.
You could talk about him and then how his experience maybe helps you be more aware of bringing that to the ballpark.
Yeah, I think it goes along with, we really encourage our staff that we want this to be a extremely welcoming place, and that doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, where you come from. And so as a part of that, our story, my wife and I's story, we had Cal. Well, it was a crazy year in 2016. We moved here, built a house, didn't think we were going to be able to have kids. Surprise, January of 2016, here comes Cal. Opened the ballpark in April, and then he was born in August. So, we had that whirlwind, but then, right around when he was 2 or 3 years old, we started kind of noticing some things. Pediatrician said, hey, we need to keep an eye on some of these developmental delays, and you don't really know anything about it at that point. I think what you've seen on TV or heard other people talk about. And really one of the first times we saw it was here at the ballpark. Opening night one year, I think he was 3, out on the concourse with my wife, and we had fireworks for the starting lineups. And so those went off, and he was out. Ran terrified, ran into the kitchen. But it was more than just like a kid being scared by fireworks. This was like well beyond that. Our VP of Food and Beverage, Scott Burton, helped my wife out, got him inside, just calmed him down. And at that point, we didn't even really know, I think, what we were getting into. But as we learned and went through ABA and went through all of these different therapies and everything else, we just were educated so much on what these struggles are like, and they're silent. You don't see them. And then as we start talking to people within that community, a lot of them couldn't come to games because, that's a place that, that's just not going to work. It's too loud, or there's too many sensory overloads. And, talking to families even who had one child who was on the spectrum and then 3 others that weren't, those other kids didn't get to experience games. So as we looked at it, we reached out to a group called Culture City, and they're a nonprofit that provides support for stadiums and big venues. So they provide you with training. So we do an online training course for all of our part-time staff and all of our full-time staff, just to help them be aware. What does it look like when somebody is having a sensory overload? What does it look like when somebody is just needing a quiet space? And it's not easy to notice unless you know what to look for. And so we do that training with them, and then we also, as a part of that, we provide anybody who comes to the ballpark who wants one, they can have a sensory bag that has noise-canceling headphones and fidget toys and other things that are just going to give them that outlet. So that is absolutely something that, when my wife and I were figuring things out with Cal, we said, how can we help other people with this? And so that's something that our staff has really gotten behind. There have been some amazing moments, a couple years ago on Sensory Safe Sunday, when we have a day where we turn down a portion of the speakers in the ballpark and have sensory games. A little guy with autism sang the national anthem, and you literally could see him going through the progression of, I can't do this, to he sings it at the end and is waving at the crowd. And so showing people that, people on the spectrum, it's not always what you think, and it may look a little different, and that's why they call it a spectrum. But we want to make sure that anybody who has sensory struggles can still come to the ballpark and enjoy.
Yeah, and Cal's at the ballpark tonight, and
Yeah.
I assume he's a
Yep.
regular at this point.
He is. There's ebbs and flows. I mean, there's some times where he doesn't love it and goes back and forth, but a night like tonight, he was great and brought our dog Clark out, and so they were able to run around and meet people, and he has his routine. So when he comes to the ballpark, they walk in, they go around to the bounce houses, he does those, then they go upstairs to the suite level, he bellies up to the bar and orders a water, and that's his kind of routine every time he comes to the ballpark. But now, he stays for fireworks, he loves to enjoy them, and so it's provided him with a place where originally was very, very scary to him, to now it's someplace that he can enjoy.
Yeah, and that seems to always be the balance of running a team like the Fireflies, like any team, is you want to make it as entertaining for everyone, but inclusive in everyone, and then where do you draw those lines, and how do you not take away something too much that it affects one group? And it seems like a big puzzle to figure out accommodations and inclusivity, because it's easy to say in a general sense, but then just the game day operations and how it you get to that point where it's like, well, I think this is what we're doing that can work for what is it, the most amount of people the most of the time,
do the most good,
good.
It is, and that is a balance, I mean, and I think you have to kind of ride that line, because people love fireworks, and that is one of everybody in minor league baseball has said for the 20 plus years I've been in minor league baseball, it's the best selling promotion, and it is. People come out for fireworks and they love them, but that's not for everybody. We have it's not just on the spectrum either. I mean, this is a large veteran and military community, and it's PTSD, so G, who's one of our season ticket members since the beginning, she is the same way, and there's been a couple times she gets out and leaves. She's a military veteran, and she usually leaves in the 8th inning on any night we have fireworks, just because she knows it's not going to be good. Well, there have been a couple times when 9th inning goes fast, she loses track of time. So one of the times I literally saw her and could tell not good, got her inside, got her someplace. But again, like I've seen couples that had 2 twin girls. One was autistic and the other was not, and so one was ready to get out of here no matter what, and the other one was enjoying the fireworks, and so we got them into the conference room so that they could see them but still not have the full impact. So there's so many things like that, but it is truly a balance no matter what you're doing. We did a disability pride night last year where it was just trying to provide more opportunities for those who are disabled within the community to come out, and it's a lot, but it's worth it. And I think even if it's just for 1 or 2 people that get to experience a ball game that haven't, because they think that's not going to be accessible to me, that is worth it, and that's impact. You talk about doing things that are bigger than yourself. Like, this is more than just baseball and beer and hot dogs. It's about community, and it's about inviting people in, and I think that's what we try to do.
Yeah, talking about being a leader and the team president, and that seems like a big part of the job is finding that balance to the best of your ability, and also knowing as many people as you can and who they are, and so that you can react on the spot to all these different situations. And I guess that's a part of the job that people might not think about, but it really is knowing your audience, knowing your crowd, and you see a lot of the same people every day. Right,
and knowing your people. The people on our team and our staff. There have been multiple times that people have come up and something they're passionate about. So if it's something they're passionate about, then we want to be passionate about it too. And so providing opportunities to do different things, whether it's a theme or a promotion, or even just inviting a group out that maybe one of our staff members is a part of, that maybe hasn't been somebody who traditionally would have come out to a ballpark for a group, and then they come out here and realize, well, this is way more than a ball game. This is a social event. This is food, it's fun, it's entertainment, it's all the other things. And so we really try to get our folks to bring what they're passionate about to work, because we do have an opportunity here to use this great venue to open people's eyes to what it can be.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having this conversation with me. And
Yeah.
I know you're in a different stage of your career, but hope to see you dancing on the diamond
Yeah.
at some point one day.
I think we can make that happen. So.
All right. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks. Yep.
We got prospect news galore as we roll along on this week's episode of the show, and a new segment of Three Strikes, which is going to feature a couple of guys who we talked about in last week's segment of Three Strikes, including one that we sort of teased like, by the time we record the next episode, he could be up in the big leagues. And he is. Jack Caglianone is up with the Kansas City Royals, and something that we thought may be in the offing. We talked about him. We talked about Roman Anthony, but he got the call. Cags making his major league debut. We were recording this on Wednesday, June 4th. Last night made his big league debut. Did go 0 for 5, but he got robbed of a hit on a shot to the gap for the Royals on the road in St. Louis, taking on the I-70 rival Cardinals. Sam, this is the culmination of a really strong spring, an incredible breakout start to the season for Jack Caglianone at the minor league level in his stops between Northwest Arkansas at AA and Omaha at AAA. Not a whole lot for us to go on yet at the big league level with just one game under his belt, but this is pretty awesome stuff and pretty exciting stuff for Royals fans to have him up.
Yeah, I think when we were talking last week, one of the things I kept bringing up about Jack Caglianone is it might be a little while until he gets that call, even though he was obviously putting on a power show with Omaha very quickly because of the defensive issues. I mean, not that he has many of them, but the Royals, in making him a one-way prospect this year, right? He was a two-way star at the University of Florida. They said, hey, we're going to make you hitter only this year. We think that's going to get you to Kansas City much quicker. He had spent most of the time working out at first base. They started to fold in some right field. Then he started to play a lot more right field after joining Omaha. But it's still a relatively new position for him. And he also played a little bit of left. Thought, okay, they want him to get used to playing right field before they made that call. And then I think the kind of push came to shove, honestly, for the Kansas City Royals. Not just with what Caglianone was doing, obviously. All the numbers were exceptionally good. 15 homers at the time of his call-up, tied for third most in the minor leagues, hitting above 300, slugging close to 600. Everything was tremendous for the first 2 months of the season. But it was at the time of when it was announced that he was getting called up, they were last in the majors in home runs with 34. I mean, we're talking about some teams that have 90
Yeah, I was going to say
home runs.
there are guys in the big leagues now who are approaching 25 home runs. I believe the big league leader right now still Cal Raleigh with 24. Shohei Ohtani's been in that mix. Aaron Judge has been in that mix, sort of jockeying. But yeah, I mean there are single players who have 2/3 of what that home run total was when Jack Caglianone got called up to help hopefully for the Royals boost that power category.
Yeah, and you want to talk about outliers. I think 7 of those homers came in one game for the Royals. So the other 27 were spread out. Yeah, so this is a team that needed power, right? And Jack Caglianone has power. They were talking on our sister podcast, the MLB Pipeline Show, about is Caglianone like the best power we have in recent memory? Like you kind of have to go back to Bryce Harper to be the last guy who you thought like this guy hits the ball exceptionally hard. He hits it to all fields incredibly well. Does Caglianone have his warts? Yes, he chases a lot, but he puts the bat on the ball a lot. And when I think Vinny Pasquantino even said this, if the bat even kisses the ball, it goes screaming over the wall.
Yeah, he basically said if he can touch the ball with the bat, it's gone.
Yeah.
Which is when somebody like Vinny Pasquantino says that about you, it's a pretty good review of your power potential.
Yeah, and I mean, even going back to that, like not just the power, but like the actual brute strength behind it. He had a ball earlier this year that was tracked at 120.9 miles per hour. Now that was with Northwest Arkansas. That was in AA. That wasn't officially a StatCast tracked ball. But only one guy has hit a ball harder in the major leagues this year. That's O'Neal Cruz, who I think was 122 miles an hour. So it's absolute top of the scale, raw power. It's can he get to it enough because of that chase rate? You bet major league pitchers are not going to go to the heart of the zone against him because they know what he can do, but also because he's willing to expand the zone. And he's struggled against curveballs. He's struggled against changeups, lots of swing and miss against those two pitch types in particular at AA and AAA. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a steady diet of that. But if he gets a fastball, anywhere close to the zone, guy can pound it, and that's exactly what the Royals need right now. Because you look at their pitching, it's exceptionally good, right? Like they're getting a great year out of Chris Bubich right now. They have Cole Reagans, they have all these options that are really really good pitchers. They just need the offense. And you thought a team that was led by Bobby Witt Jr. with a Salvador Perez, with a Vinny Pasquantino could show some pop. Hasn't quite worked out that way to begin the year, but they're desperate to get back to the postseason like they were last year. Caglianone is a big opportunity for them. He DH'd in his major league debut, so maybe we see him more in that if they are truly worried about the defense. They publicly have said all the right things, that they think, like, for a guy with minimal outfield experience, he handles himself pretty well. And when he was a pitcher at Florida, he was threatening triple digits, if not touching them.
Yeah.
So the arm's going to work in right field. It's just, do you want to throw that much at a guy in his major league debut? Maybe they get him more DH time because they're just like, focus on the thing you do exceptionally well, and that's hitting the ball hard.
Just as a side note, how fun is that AL Central right now? It is sort of like the NL West in that there's one team that's not part of the conversation, but like the Tigers at 40-22, the first team in the big leagues to 40 wins this season. They are still, as of recording, the only team in the big leagues at 40 wins. The Twins are 33-27, the Guards are 32-27, and the Royals are 32-29. So if those three teams are within a game and a half of each other, they are 6, 6.5, and 7.5 respectively back of the Tigers. But there were a few years ago when we were looking at the AL Central like, well, what are we doing here? Somebody's going to win this division at 84 wins. Right now, that's one of the most entertaining divisions in baseball, which is super cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they're all interesting,
Yeah.
different types,
Yeah.
right? Like the Tigers, they're mixing and matching with pitching, but they got Tarek Skubal
Right.
up top, and they were getting resurgent years from Javi Baez and Spencer Torkelson. And the Guardians are the Guardians. Like
Yeah.
I was listening to the Yankees Guardians on the ride home last night from New England, and you just realize, like, oh man, Carlos Santana's still there, and
Yeah.
Jose Ramirez will be in
Yeah.
Cleveland until the end of time, and they still have really good pitching, and Shane Bieber coming back, and like they're still going to be in it no matter what. You can never count out Cleveland. So getting a resurgent Kansas City, getting a Minnesota that goes on winning streaks, it's one of the most fun divisions in baseball.
All right, Sam, strike two this week. We move to the National League and to the San Francisco Giants organization, where 20-year-old Bryce Eldridge has gotten the bump from Double-A Richmond to Triple-A Sacramento. Bryce Eldridge, a guy who has been on our radar for a while, the 16th overall pick in the 2023 draft, a guy who I saw a little bit the year before that in the U18 Baseball World Cup in 2022 when he was on a USA Baseball squad that rolled to a title in that classification. He is a really scary good left-handed bat. He is listed at 6'7", 240. And again, he's 20 years old in 34 games with Richmond to start the season in the Eastern League. 250, 280, 350, 512 with 7 home runs in 34 games to go along with 8 doubles. Bryce Eldridge, a really imposing guy who seems like he's going to fit. I mean, obviously, if he continues putting up numbers anything remotely close to that, he's going to fit really well anywhere. But big left-handed bat in San Francisco, like, this has the potential to be a really, really fun prospect to watch graduate here in the coming, months, potentially, depending on how things go, maybe weeks for Bryce Eldridge.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. This isn't his first go in AAA, technically. The Giants got him up there at the tail end of last year, and I think a big reason for that, it was his, like you said, Tyler, it was his age 19 season last year. He only turned 20 last October, was because that's where the games were. I mean, we get to the end of the minor league season, right? High A is over, single A is over, double A ends a week before triple A. So like they just wanted him to continually get at bats, and that included time in the Arizona Fall League where I caught him last year. And they just kept sending him there because they were like, well, he keeps hitting, so let's just keep it going. And then begins this year with a left wrist injury, doesn't open the year officially with Richmond until the latter half of April. But like you said, like took to that level especially well. They want him to continually be challenged with that power. I mean, I remember seeing him last year, and I remember one evaluator I was talking to described it this way. He basically kind of looks like a baby giraffe sometimes, just because he is so big and is learning his body. And he's listed at 240. It's a skinny 240. It's not like Jack Caglianone is built like a tank. Like that guy, you think could run through walls if he needed to. Bryce Eldridge very well could. I mean, he's got exceptional strength, but he's 2 inches taller. So that even if he is the same weight, it's a little bit more stringed out. But he hits the ball hard too, and he lifts the ball well. All the things you're looking for out of a first base prospect to rank as highly as we do, and we have him as the top prospect in that Giants system. He does well. Now, what I'm really looking forward to here is after we're now, a year and a half essentially of hearing, hey, Bryce Eldridge hits the ball hard. We're going to get some public data on that.
Yeah.
The same way we did with Jack Caglianone when he got to Omaha. And, instead of hearing about 120-mile-per-hour exit velocities, he didn't quite show that with Omaha. He wasn't there long enough, but like the hard hit rate was really good. Everything was really good under the hood. Eldridge could very well be the same. We'll see how at 6'7", that's a big strike zone. That's a lot of room you got to cover. AAA pitchers are going to take more advantage of that than some of their AA, high A, single A counterparts. But I'm really excited to see what this does for him. Again, like the Giants have, like you said, they have aspirations to be there in October, as they very well should, given some of the moves they made, including bringing up like Willie Adames. And as we sit here on Wednesday, they're 4 games back of the Dodgers. They're 3 games back of the Padres. They're 3.5 up on the D-backs, who obviously want to get back there as well. So it's a loaded NL West. I don't know if necessarily like Eldridge is going to be something they call up imminently. You look at some of their options at first base this year. It hasn't been great. They started rotating between Lamonte Wade Jr. and Casey Schmidt. And
they just
literally those two
DFA'd.
have altered.
Just DFA'd Lamont Wade Jr. today, I believe. So that's
they made a slew of moves this morning. So when Eldridge is getting to AAA, you start to be like, okay, is this the time that happens? We will see, but I think given how young he is, like Jack Caglianone had 3 years at Florida, right? Like he's played advanced competition, gone to the College World Series, all those kind of things. Bryce Eldridge, again, has seen AA, has seen AAA for a very smidge amount of time, has seen the Arizona Fall League. I think it's going to be more of an extended stay, but he's only one call away now.
All right, Sam, strike 3 this week is a fun one. We spent a lot of time last week talking about the top overall prospect in baseball in the Boston Red Sox, the Boston Red Sox apostrophe S's, Roman Anthony, who is now up in AAA Worcester these days, playing for the Woo Sox in 55 games there, 296, 422, 493 for Roman Anthony. We talked about him last week, the potential pathways to get him to the big leagues, the stuff that the Red Sox still want to see from him. So this conversation is not about Roman Anthony. It is about who comes next after Roman Anthony when, inevitably, Roman Anthony gets to the big leagues, graduates, and does all of that. Who comes in behind Roman Anthony as the next top overall prospect in baseball? And right now, that argument sort of manifests itself as who is the actual number 2 overall prospect in baseball? The way things are ranked right now with the updated top 100 that you guys just put out over the last few weeks, Bubba Chandler, the Pirates' right-handed pitching prospect, is currently the number 2, but you can make arguments for a lot of guys in that spot. Leo DeVries, the Padres shortstop prospect, the 18-year-old who right now is at high A, he's number 3. Jordan Lawler, a guy we've talked about a lot in the last few years, is at number 4. The D-backs infield prospect, Andrew Painter, the right-handed pitching prospect in the Philly system, number 5. But there are a lot of guys who can be in this conversation. Take us through this discourse.
Yeah, I just want to throw in this note because I missed it when we were talking about Bryce Eldridge. Giants first baseman, by the way, 29th right now in collective F4 at -0.9. So there's a reason why.
Not ideal.
I'm sure you could figure out, Tyler, who is 30.
I was going to say, who do you think is number 30 on that list? The scorching hot Colorado Rockies, who swept the Miami Marlins, by the way, as of today somehow. Anyways,
Rockies mentioned for everybody at home. We're just waiting for that to happen. But yeah, no, going back to the original point of the third strike here. I think it's a much more interesting debate, right? Like right now we have a clear number 1. Into the year, it felt like there were a clear top 2 between Roki Sasaki and Roman Anthony. Then, as Roki Sasaki graduates off, I know it hasn't been a great introduction to the majors for him, but given all the interest in him, what his velocity used to be, given the quality of the splitter, he was number 1 for us. Roman Anthony was number 2. Roman Anthony continues to hit the ball hard. He's going through a little bit of a rough spell right now, and I wouldn't look too much into that. He just turned 21 a while ago. He's still universally the number one prospect in baseball, not just us. Plenty of other sites, plenty of other evaluators will put Roman Anthony at number one and have done so and continue to do so. So much that that's why we talked about it last week. I think there's a big debate on who would be number one after him once he graduates. And he hasn't been called up yet. So, like, we're not even at a point where we can say, start the clock in 45 days. We're going to have to figure out who the next number one is. It could be a while longer until that happens. But I do think that debate, for, like you said, is essentially number two right now, is pretty open. Bubba Chandler, all the numbers for him are exceptionally good at AAA, and I think that's why we have him at number two right now. It's a mix of what is your track record and what are your tools or what is your stuff. It's a fastball that plays exceptionally well at the top of the zone. It doesn't drop much at all. It's basically flat and it can touch triple digits. I mean, it's everything you would want out of that pitch. Then he's got a really good slider. The changeup has played really well. Maybe you question like the curveball a little bit. The changeup's actually been better than the slider so far at AAA. So like maybe the breaking pitches aren't quite there. That's the kind of the case against him. And he hasn't, when I first wrote this story, he'd only thrown more than 5 innings once in 11 starts. Now that's not his fault. That's the team putting on some guardrails against him, building into the season. But you could say he hasn't held this stuff deep into a start yet, right? Like he hasn't gone beyond 90 pitches except for twice. So I kind of get the case against him. And listen, pitchers are riskier, right? Like we have this debate all the time when we're putting together top 100. Guys get injured all the time as pitchers now, especially those who are maxing out like he is in triple digit land. So as good as the stuff is, as good as the track record is, if there's a higher likelihood of this guy breaking down, that adds to the risk factor. And you don't want any risk really involved with your number one overall prospect, right? So that pushes us to like Leo DeVries, who's like you said, already at high A. And for some people who design systems on how to rank prospects, we don't use this necessarily, but everybody has, or not everybody, but many organizations have like a model and be like, what is this guy's future value? And let's plug in what he's done so far, what his exit velocities are, what his launch angle, all the data we have. And one of the key indicators is typically age relative to level. So if you have somebody like Leo DeVries, who, like you said, 18 years old at high A and is performing as well as he is, that's going to look great in the model because you think like if he can do this at high A, he can do this at double A at 19. If he might get to double A before he's 19, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just so much easier to predict. And you look at how he's done compared to other 18-year-olds over the last few years. He's one of only 9 players who is 18 or younger to post a WRC plus above 100 over at least 180 plate appearances since 2006. Other guys who have done that, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Mike Trout, and Sebastian Walcott. Sebastian Walcott also in this discussion, right? So there's just so many ways we can kind of pull this apart. The reason why Roman Anthony is number one is because he's a hitter, so we don't have that pitching risk. We have that double A, triple A success. We have the data that he hits the ball hard and hits the ball hard often, and that he lifts the ball and does all those things. None of these other guys have that, right? Like Leo DeVries doesn't have the double A experience yet. He's a good shortstop. He's got a really strong arm. You can project him well. He plays a premium position, all those things. He just doesn't have that upper level experience. Andrew Painter, the next guy, somebody who also has really quality stuff, now is putting on some AAA experience, didn't pitch at all in the minor leagues in 2023 or 2024. So that's a major question mark for him. Yeah, we have him ranked pretty high, but if we're going to put him at number one, like you would rather that those questions not be there. Max Clark, tremendous numbers so far this year at high A West Michigan. He's looked like the ideal leadoff man. He's walking a lot more than he's striking out. He's cut down his chase rate. He's getting on base a ton. He's got plus speed. He can play center field pretty well. He can throw pretty well. It's just the power a bit. Like he doesn't quite have the impact behind his swings right now. Now he could be a really good doubles hitter, but he's not going to be that home run guy like a Roman Anthony is that makes you think like, okay, this is great. He has all five tools. Max Clerk doesn't quite have that. And the last one we'll bring up is Chase Burns. I didn't mention Sebastian Walcott. Sebastian Walcott, I said before, he's done really well. He's now at 19 at Double A. Talk about like putting him in a historical context. When I wrote this on Monday, he had a 200 isolated slugging percentage. So that's just slugging percentage minus batting average. Just like it as it sounds, isolates what actually your extra base hit ability is. It was 200. That's third best among qualified teens at Double A since 2006. The only two guys with higher are Fernando Tatis Jr. and Mike Trout.
Pretty
If
good.
you're in that discussion, like of course you're going to be in the discussion for number one overall. Now, like his overall numbers are okay at Double A. They're not stellar. It's not like he's blowing the doors off the competition, but he's hitting for power in the way that we all expected. The other question mark I have with him is a lot of people have pegged him as somebody who's going to move off shortstop. Maybe he's like Tatis, right? Maybe he goes to right field and he has the arm for that. Maybe he goes to third base. He started to mix in that a little bit and he struggled against breaking pitches. So again, we still have questions about Sebastian Walcott. The one who I think has the most helium of anybody on this list, which is kind of funny to say, is Chase Burns. He's the second overall pick in last year's draft. So to say he has helium,
Yeah. Yeah.
how does that work? But the guy's just blowing the doors off the competition so far this year at high A and Double A ERA, 69 strikeouts, only 9 walks, excuse me, in 43rd innings. So he's getting strikeouts. He's limiting walks. It's really fun to watch because he's got kind of this like over the top delivery that's upper 90s fastballs, and it's just going right past hitters. They don't know what to do with that. And then he plays off of that with an upper 80s slider as well. He's got a decent low 90s changeup, so it's like a mix of, you think like low 90s changeup, that's not much of a changeup, but when you're throwing upper 90s, the difference is good enough, right?
That's the type of stuff that would have gotten you like imprisoned in the early 1900s for like if you were a pitcher doing this in like the dead ball era, people would be like, what sort of sorcery? That's insane. The concept of a changeup in the low 90s being like double digit velocity slower than your fastball is preposterous. But that's like a regular thing. There are guys in college doing that. It's insane. I just want anybody listening to know, like, we're living in such a fun age of
Yeah.
talent, and especially pitching talent in baseball.
Well, or you would hear like in the 90s of like, oh, he's got a low 90s changeup. It's like that's 4 miles an hour difference. That's not anything.
Exactly.
Like that's not
exactly.
It's like no. It's you want it like 10 miles an hour, and he's
Right.
not fully there, but he's close enough. But again, like he's somebody who's only thrown 6 innings once, and that was in his last time out. He still hasn't thrown more than 82 pitches in a start. He could break down. We'll see. It hasn't happened yet, but like all the indications, I'm somebody who really likes the stat, and this comes and goes, and I know everybody's looking at different things, but like strikeout minus walk percentage is a pretty good evaluator of like who's doing well and isn't getting lucky. They're literally striking guys out and limiting walks. 34.9%. When I wrote this up, it's tops among all minor league qualifiers. He's striking out 40% at least. Like Burns has the stuff and the track record to be up there. Now, if we were redoing our market corrections today, I think he would take a pretty significant jump up, but I still don't know fully that he'd be the number 2 prospect in baseball compared to some other guys, especially the bats. It's a really fun debate, and I think it's better when we have debate rather than just have a number 1 guy with a bullet, going back to like the Vlad Jr. days, or like Byron Buxton days. Remember when that happened and he was just number 1 for like years on years?
It really
in part
did feel
because of
like
his
Byron
injury.
Buxton was our number 1 for like 5 straight years. And it
Yeah.
was, so often it was because of the injury issues and the talent was so undeniable. But yeah.
Yeah, there's so many flavors, and we're gonna do another market corrections, I think, before the draft in July, and then we'll have our full update in August. And I can't wait to see where all these guys are then, because we're gonna have even more data. It's not like these trend lines are gonna continue. Some things are gonna get thrown, but it's gonna be a fun one. And maybe Roman Anthony will be graduated by that then, and who knows? Maybe he won't be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe we're still talking about him.
Also, I just want to point out that a little while ago, you were talking about velocity and you made reference to a visit to Triple Digit Land, which is an amusement park I really want to visit now. I really want to Like we'll take a weekend day and we'll head out to triple digit land. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, all rides have to go at least 100 miles an hour. I'm sure all safety precautions will be totally fine with that. And
Be like
all
that
safety
HBO
reasons.
that HBO documentary about the extremely unsafe theme park in New Jersey back in the 80s.
Well, we have a place for it now.
Yeah,
We'll
exactly.
pitch that.
Yeah.
We'll pitch that to the Somerset people next
That's
week. Be like, hey,
fantastic.
you
I
guys
like
have
that.
land where we can just put 100-mile-an-hour rides.
Can we build all of these insane baseball related amusement park rides? Okay, that is three strikes on this week's episode of the show before the show. We're going to step aside for a timeout and bring it on back to wrap this thing up. Coming up next.
This episode is brought to you by Subaru. Go further in a long-range Subaru hybrid with up to 597 miles per tank in the Crosstrek hybrid and up to 581 miles per tank in the Forester hybrid. Subaru. Love goes the extra mile. Visit Subaru.com/hybrid to learn more. Range based on EPA estimated combined fuel economy and a full tank of fuel. Actual mileage and range may vary.
All right, saying goodbye on this week's episode of the show before the show. But before we do, all three of us back together, it is time for the latest and greatest edition of Name That Dude, in which I, this week, am the dude knower, which makes Sam Dykstra and Benjamin Hill the dude guessers. And I'm excited for this one because this is a guy who I always just liked to watch play baseball at the big league level. He is the dude of this week. Drafted in the first round by the San Diego Padres, 14th overall in the 1993 MLB June draft, which honestly surprises me that it was that far back because I still think of him as like, oh yeah, he just stopped playing like 3 years ago. Made his big league made his professional debut in 1993, played 15 games with the Arizona League Padres, and then actually got some time up at High A with the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. He was back in Rancho in 1994. And remember, in 94, the minor leagues played a full season. So even though the strike happened and the big league season was wiped out and the World Series and all that, he played in 126 games with Rancho Cucamonga. So I gave away there. He is a position player. The following year, back in Rancho for a little while, but then made the jump to Double-A Memphis, the Memphis Chicks in the Southern League in 1995, his age 19 season. He was in Double-A again in 96, then finally made the climb to Triple-A with the Las Vegas Stars in the Padres system in 1997, and then made his big league debut. This is not a guy I think of at all as a San Diego Padre, but he was drafted by the Padres, made his big league debut with the Padres in 1997. Sam's smiling already. Do you have an idea already of who
No.
this Oh, okay,
The person
okay.
I was thinking was pretty well known as a Padre. So,
I was going to be stunned if you knew.
no,
Now,
completely flushing.
I might give this away based on his next stops in his career. So he made his big league debut in 97 with the Padres, but then moved on to one of the teams that you think of him from, which is the Florida Marlins in 1998. 1999, so he spent all of 98 in the big leagues. 1999, he actually spent the majority of that year in AAA in the Pacific Coast League in Calgary. Back when there was still affiliated ball in Calgary, he was with the Calgary Cannons, who were a Marlins affiliate in Alberta. You talk about like weird travel between AAA and the big leagues. He spent 89 games with Calgary and then 70 games with the Marlins at the major league level that year, and then was basically a big leaguer the rest of his career. He spent through 2003 with the Marlins. Then he joined the Cubs in 2004. He was with the Cubs all the way into the 2010 season, spent some time with Atlanta in 2010. Then, and I don't remember hardly any of this, he spent a season with the Baltimore Orioles, which included one rehab game with Bowie in the Double-A Eastern League. And the final season of his major league career in 2011, he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates, which I also do not remember at all. Now, he only played 28 games that year, put up really, really good numbers for the 2011 Pirates. That was part of his season with the Orioles. He was 85 games with the Orioles, 25 with the Pirates, or 28 rather with the Pirates. Does anybody have a guess as of yet?
All right. I'm going to lead into this.
Okay.
Tyler, what was the position that was shared by the two guys we talked about first in three strikes?
First base?
Does this guy play first base?
This guy does play first base.
Is it Derek Lee?
It is Derek Lee.
All right.
Nicely done, Sam.
It was the Marlins to Cubs transition.
Marlins to Cubs. Yeah.
Right in that thick of like when the Cubs were really good. And obviously the Marlins won a World Series in 2003. And I just remember Derek Lee was like that first baseman that I think if you didn't watch it, like I had a Cubs fan who was a good friend in college who loved Derek Lee. But he always seemed like that guy, like, I would like to have him.
Yeah, totally.
Like, you're just kind of jealous of the Cubs having Derek Lee for a while.
He's one of those guys that like he might not have been the centerpiece of teams, but you're like, God, that dude is so good. Like I would
can we just plug that guy in and we'll figure everything else out?
Like let him hit 5th or 6th or 3rd or whatever in this lineup. I would kill to have Derek Lee. Derek Lee, though, like you look back on his career, won the 2003 World Series, obviously as a member of the Marlins, but a 2-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove winner, which I would not have guessed. Like I knew he was a good defensive player, but I had kind of forgotten he won multiple Gold Gloves. He won a Silver Slugger, he won a batting title, but just like a really, really good player for a pretty long period of time. And again, somebody who was not necessarily the centerpiece of a team that he was on, but he was a big contributing factor on teams that he was on. World Series championship team, a team. He was in the Steve Bartman game, like the series. He was with the Marlins that year and then went to the Cubs the following year. So he had kind of an interesting connection to that game and that moment in baseball history. But he finished as a top 5 MVP finisher in 2005 when he hit 335, 418, 662. He had 199 hits, including 50 doubles and 46 home runs that year for the Cubs. Won a Gold Glove, a Silver Slugger, and was an All-Star that year. His OPS plus led all of baseball at 174. Like Derek Lee was a really good player, and a guy who I am happy to remember. I'm glad we get to give Derek Lee some love.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And in my head, I don't think of necessarily like first base for the Cubs being an iconic position, but you think about like who's been there, like Mark Grace.
Yeah.
Essentially, I'm sure people are gonna jump in and be like, "Well, you're forgetting this guy." Like, I know it's not a perfect chain, but like Mark Grace to Derek Lee to Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah.
Now, like Michael Busch, like it's a pretty good legacy.
Yeah, it's a pretty good. I'm trying to think of who would have taken up most of the time at first. Oh, Eric Karros was at first base the year before Derek Lee was for the Cubs. Would never have remembered that Eric Karros played 2003 with the Cubs. Would not have remembered that. But yeah, there have been some really good first base stalwarts for the Cubs over the years. And Derek Lee, one of those guys, a perfect dude for Name That Dude. And that'll bring a close to this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. But again, coming up on Wednesday, June 11th, in Bridgewater, New Jersey, the home of the Somerset Patriots. It is the Show Before the Show night. You can get your tickets right now. Check out MILB's social media. You can find our ticket link there for $15 tickets, $5 of which will be going to the Somerset County Area Food Bank. And we're going to have a lot of fun on Wednesday night, June 11th, at the home of the Somerset Patriots. You can come on out and hang with us at a minor league baseball game, something that the three of us have literally never done together, right?
Yeah.
That's insane. The three of us we have made our living in part by doing a podcast about minor league baseball together for a decade, and we have never been to a game, all three of us at the same time. That is wild.
But we have done a lot of podcast episodes.
Man, haven't we? I shudder to think how many hours we have spent looking through our screens at each other over the last 10 years. But I'm excited to be able to look at you in person, fellas. So for Benjamin Hill and Sam Dykstra, my name is Tyler Maughan. Let us know if you're going to be there next week. You can email us, podcast@milb.com. You can hit us up on social media and get in touch. Let us know. We would love to say hello. And we're going to have a whole pile of fun next week in New Jersey. For those two dudes, my name is Tyler Maughan. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. And we'll catch you next week.